Welcome to our Devos, where we are talking about how money matters. Matters. We all have to deal with it. Whether we have enough of it or we don't have any of it, it's a problem in terms of how we manage it. So we might as well know what the Lord says about managing it. And the Bible has so much to say about how we manage money, because money does matter. To God, money matters. It doesn't matter to him in terms of, oh, well, he needs my money or else heaven's not going to function. It's not that kind of a matter. What matters is the way that we are stewarding the resources that God has chosen to give us while we're living on this earth. So let's take a look at something that is, again, some of this stuff seems a little controversial, seems a little out there, but it's worth talking about. This one is not very controversial. Watch your stuff. You got to watch your stuff. You have to. Now, I don't want you to confuse this with obsess over your stuff, but you should be watching over your stuff. So what does that mean? Well, that could mean a bunch of things. Are you regularly checking your investments if you are invested? Some of you, when you see the first of the year and you see if you're investing in a 401k or a Roth IRA and you see different things that happen, you're like, oh, I don't want to look at that stuff. That's gross. Some of you get discouraged and depressed, so what you don't do is you don't look at any of your stuff, and because of it, you don't know really what's going on. But if you want to be wise, you want to watch what's happening with your financial picture. Now, today's day and age, the internet, apps, many different applications, there's never been an easier time to know what's going on with your financial picture, but most of us still don't do it. We're looking at okay, this is how much I have in my bank, this is how much I can spend today, but in reality, we should be projecting and watching over what we need tomorrow. Okay, we have, I just found out one of my children, they're going to need some dental work. Okay, so I think that's one of those things that you dread. I know that I didn't go to a dentist as a kid. My parents, we were just poor. So I didn't have my first dentist appointment until I was 19 years old. I'm just being honest, all right? So, and the reason why is because there was no insurance. We had insurance, but there was no insurance that covered that was luxury back then. And some of you came from a home like that. So I know I had bad oral hygiene, but I've cleaned it up and worked on it since then. So it's not still that way. But I didn't think people regularly went to the dentist, okay? But what happens is a lot of times we know there's something brewing and we don't forecast for an emergency. This is why you should have an emergency fund or a medical fund or something where okay, you know that at some point your car is going to need tires or it's going to need an alternator, okay? We're talking $500 to $1,000 worth of work. You know that's going to happen. It's not an issue of I'm surprised I bought this car. I've had it for 25 years. I didn't know something bad was going to happen to it. It's going to happen. It's an issue of not when, or it's an issue not of if, but when. So you want to watch your stuff in terms of knowing how you are really doing financially in case of an emergency. And you don't want to use debt. So Proverbs chapter 27, verses 23 through 24 says, know well the condition of your flocks. This is business, essentially what's making money. And give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever. And does a crown endure to all generations? He's saying it's wearing out. Those sheep are going to get sick. There's going to be problems. You're going to have to change things. Always change things. So don't just go in I think you should try to minimize what you watch, but I think you should still watch. I think you should constantly be looking at your finances as a way to tweak what's going on so that you're doing better in the long run, whether that's asking for a raise. Why haven't you asked for a raise? I talk to people like that all the time. Some people, now I work for the church and we've had people working for us for years. We've hired people. Okay, so give people an opportunity to let them give you a raise. If, raises are coming up and you just go, oh, I don't need a raise. I've talked to so many people in the church that they won't ask or they won't try. And they don't realize from the employer standpoint, I would rather give someone more money and keep them and retain them than I would to let them go for them to go make a little bit more money and I have to go and hire somebody else. Think the way your manager thinks. Think the way your owner thinks. And when I'm working in secular stuff, I am not the way I am in ministry. In secular stuff, I am shrewd, okay? Because I know, and I've said this before, and I'll say it from the rooftops, if you work for a secular corporate organization, I don't care who it is, and I work for a couple that I love, and I love working for them and working with them. Any secular organization, when they're not doing ministry work, they will cut you off if a robot could do your job, all right? Problem is, Pastor Mike hasn't gotten rid of me yet because a robot can't make the jokes that I make. I get it, all right? They're not there yet. Maybe someday, but not yet. Okay, so if your company could replace you, they're going to replace you. So you have to watch your stuff. You have to watch your income and make sure that you are lining up what you're doing with what you should be making, and you're trying to advance that constantly. You're trying to pursue getting a little bit better, tweaking what you're doing. I'm not saying start your own business. I'm not saying do anything crazy. I'm just saying watch your stuff in terms of making more money, because money matters and you need it, and the Lord will keep blessing you as you try to honor him with the way that you're spending your money.